Welcome to News Video Clip. If you've been watching this podcast, we've been reporting on Natalie Harp. She is an aide to President Trump who is constantly with him. She's been nicknamed the human printer because she carries around this portable printer to print stuff out for him. It's also been rumored that she carries his diaper bag because he allegedly wears diapers. Anyways, her brother, Preston, recently gave an interview to CNN, and he was asked why his sister is so devoted and so obsessed with President Trump. Let's watch the interview.
So there was a series called The Art of the Surge just a couple of years ago, Preston, 2024. And in it, your sister talks extensively about working for Trump. I just wanted to play a clip of it for you. Here she is.
Politics was never something I liked. Business was my background, real estate, MBA. I was very much not interested in politics in California. I feel like you get the same kind of sort of politicians. But when I was sick, I started watching the Republican debates. He was my first exposure to politics, and I loved it. Like, this guy, he gets it.
So she says there, he was her first exposure to politics, right? You guys grew up in the same home, the same family. So you understand where she's coming from in a way that no one else does.
Yeah.
What do you think drew her to him?
Not her.
Yeah.
Well, my mom raised us with the idea that American exceptionalism was the correct way of looking at things. That the United States is the boss of the world. That, slavery was back then, that was normal. People weren't bad because they had slaves. And honestly, and it's like Trump wants to take all those books out of schools. He wants to rewrite history. And so, I think that my sister, unfortunately, didn't break out of that delusion that my mom raised us with. And Trump is like everything that my mom taught us to respect. So I think that's where her infatuation for Trump comes from, honestly, because I don't think it's a physical attraction. Let's get real, But
All right, so there is Preston. He is talking about his sister, Natalie, and also their parents. Their mother sounds like a white nationalist, racist. So it sounds like his sister held on to some of that racism and white nationalism. Very disturbing. And we have another story about Natalie Harp. MS Now reports that she worked in the White House for a year without a security clearance. So that means she had access to classified information. She didn't have a security clearance. In fact, it was only when Trump finally intervened that she actually got a security clearance. She couldn't get one on her own, I guess. I don't know. And we have another interview about Natalie. This comes from Sarah Matthews, and she was on MS Now. Now, she knows Natalie Harp, and she gave her take on Natalie's weird, close relationship with President Trump.
When I look at the relationship between the two, and I just think there's something weird going on in the sense of her extreme devotion, borderline obsession with the president. And I think that a lot of aides who are working in Trump 2.0 feel the same. And how do I know that? Because yes, publicly they're defending her. But in that New York Times article that Maggie Haberman put out today, it said that Natalie Harp is described as a loner within the White House. And so I do think that there are a lot of people who actually look at her obsession with him and think that it's a little odd, and that's saying something for an administration full of sycophants.
Wow. So anyway, Natalie Harp, it just never stops. There's just more and more weird things coming out about her and Trump. Now, speaking of Trump, he's been accusing Democrats of being communists. And today, President Trump gave a little press conference, and he was asked about Kim Jong-un, who is the communist leader of North Korea. And Trump went out of his way to praise communist dictator Kim Jong-un, who is a mass murderer. Let's listen to what Trump had to say.
Well, I don't want to talk about that, but I do have a good relationship with Kim Jong-un. As you know, you've seen. He didn't like Biden. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like anybody, but he likes me, and I just got along with him very good. We had great meetings. We speak. And I think our nation, and I think other nations, frankly, whether it's Japan or South Korea, they're a lot safer if I'm president than if somebody else is president. Now, I didn't like the fact that we're doing these massive military exercises really against North Korea. It was a exercise against North Korea. When I'm friendly with him, I don't see anything happening for certainly 2.5 years. It's not going to happen with me. But I don't see anything happening. And I was not happy when South Korea said no.
So there you go. Trump very unhappy that his own U.S. military is doing exercises against North Korea, which means that's happening near North Korea, not actually in the country, which the United States has done for years and years. But there you saw Trump praising a communist, Kim Jong-un, a mass murderer who's killed members of his own family. Just an absolute lunatic. All right, now we're going to go down to Georgia. And Senator Jon Ossoff, who is a great Democrat, he was slamming Trump again. Senator Ossoff, who's running for re-election, reminded a town hall that President Trump is a draft dodger. True, he was a draft dodger, didn't go to Vietnam, and he is a crook. So let's watch the video.
Because I don't think anything illustrates the times more aptly than that the draft dodging crook president who has plunged our nation recklessly into a war he knows not how to end or to win.
Oh, this is spot on. Trump has no idea what he's doing in Iran. He started the Iran war back in February. Here we are. We're heading towards the end of August, and we are still stuck in Iran. Gas prices are still skyrocketing. And this is what you voted for, MAGA. You own this. This is what you get. Good job. All right, now we're going to shift gears here. We recently did a story about Hayden Panettiere. She's the actress who recently died, about her ex-boyfriend, Bruce Hickerson, who she was in his Greenville, South Carolina apartment when she died at age 36 on August 16th. Now, Inside Edition interviewed Hayden's neighbor back in Los Angeles, and she had some interesting things to say about Hayden's ex-boyfriend, Bruce Hickerson, who did get convicted for abusing Hayden. Let's watch the report.
Panettiere neighbor is making shocking allegations about the troubled star's relationship with her boyfriend.
She was always such a bright light when she was by herself. When she was with Brian, she was so subdued and seemed almost like a different person.
Mia Terrazas says she called 911 a half a dozen times to report disturbances in Hayden's apartment in West Hollywood. Was there ever any instances where you thought there could be domestic violence going on?
Oh, absolutely. I saw her leaving on a gurney. Brian was right next to her, and I asked her if she was okay. And it looked to me that she, had suffered some type of trauma that, looked to be battering. And it was clear she was terrified.
Brian Hickerson was jailed for 45 days in 2021 for punching Hayden with his closed fist in the face.
So, wait a second. Brian Hickerson only got 45 days in jail for punching a girl, Hayden, in the face with a closed fist. That is unbelievable. Can you imagine what you would get if you punched, a cop? You get a lot more than 45 days. But if you punch a woman, nobody seems to really care. 45 days, not even 2 months. That is unbelievable. Okay, let's go back to the report.
And was banned from the apartment complex where Hayden lived. This image of Hickerson was posted on the property. Warning to all residents, if he is seen anywhere on this property, please call 911 immediately. But Hayden let him back into her life, and they were together when the troubled star was found dead in an Airbnb in Greenville, South Carolina, apparently from an overdose. What was your reaction when you heard the news about Hayden's death?
It's really devastating. She's so young and she had so much life left to live.
Today, Greenville cops were seen at the home of Brian Hickerson's grandparents. Cops say it was a welfare check unrelated to Hayden's death. We're also learning more about Hayden's final hours. Brian Hickerson's brother, a local preacher named Zach Hickerson, arrived at the Airbnb around 1:50 p.m. on Sunday. Published reports say he found his brother asleep in bed, and Hayden was unconscious and unresponsive on an armchair. Hayden's mother, Leslie Vogel, is demanding a full police investigation. That is not the typical hour of the day that you are partying, generally speaking. That is a concern, she said. At this point, I am not launching a private investigation. It might change. But
Okay, so there we go. Very sad story about this 36-year-old actress found dead in Brian Hickerson's Airbnb. Extremely sad. All right, we have links to this story and all of our stories right below this video. Unlike the right-wing podcasters, the right-wing paid influencers, scumbags like Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, Riley Gaines, Kristen Hawkins, Benny Johnson, Jimmy Dore, all these right-wing liars who make six figures or more for lying. They never back up anything. We back up every single story and every single podcast every single time. All right, I want to thank everybody who subscribed to this podcast. Thank you so much. If this is your first time watching, please like and subscribe, or you can hate it and subscribe, or you can hate me and subscribe. We'll be back later with more stories.